Hey, it's Greg here. I know it's been a while since my last video. The truth is, these past few months haven't been easy. I lost a lot of motivation. I felt tired, overwhelmed, and honestly, just burned out. That's why I went quiet, even though the new building season had already begun and I still had so much footage from last year I didn't share. But I'm slowly getting back on my feet. And today I want to show you an important step that often gets overlooked. Waterproofing basement walls. This part of the build is all about protecting your home for the long term. I'm talking basement moisture barriers, foundation waterproofing, and making sure that my future living space stays dry and warm, especially during the rainy seasons and winter freeze. In this video, I'll show you how I applied a waterproofing membrane to my foundation walls. You'll see step by step how I sealed everything up, why it matters, and the challenges I ran into. Because trust me, nothing ever goes perfectly. Building a house or thinking about it, you'll want to know how to properly seal your foundation walls and add a solid moisture protection system. It's not the flashiest part of the build, but it's one of the most important for the durability of your home. And if you're just here to learn or enjoy the ride, welcome back. I'm glad you're still with me. Let's get into it. But first things first, it was the 2nd of November, and the weather was already giving me a headache. Rain, wind, dropping temperatures. I had to constantly shift between tasks just to keep moving forward. As you might have noticed, the floor isn't even finished here yet. Yes, even though the full episode about it is already live. That's because I prefer to share each stage of the process in full, rather than jumping between timelines. At that point, temperatures were still decent, so I focused on a bit of masonry work that had to be done before waterproofing. One important thing I've learned is that water barriers don't like sharp angles. I'm not sure of the proper English term, but I needed to add a sloped mortar fillet in the corners, basically a small triangular ramp that softens the 90-degree transitions between the foundation wall and the footing. That smooth slope makes it much easier to apply the moisture barrier, and it helps it adhere better without peeling or cracking in the future. In the meantime, I also took care of all the small gaps and cracks in the foundation walls. I filled them with mortar to create a smooth, even surface for the waterproofing layer. It might seem like a small detail, but skipping this step can lead to leaks down the road. Now I'm going around the foundation and scraping off the excess to make sure everything is flush and ready for the next layer. Once everything was swept off and the surface was clean, I moved on to the next step, priming the foundation walls. To speed things up, I used a spray gun designed for heavier materials, which made a huge difference compared to brushing it on by hand. The primer I used is called NEXLER Bitflex primer. It serves as both a moisture barrier and a base layer for the waterproofing system. Looking back, I'm really glad I invested in the spray gun. It made the whole process much faster and more efficient. Since I had to buy 2 containers anyway, I decided to apply 2 coats to be on the safe side and ensure a solid seal before moving on.
It's Monday, 6:25 a.m. My last day of vacations. A lot of work to do. I'm hoping that today excavator will come, but I don't know if the guy remembered to come. We'll see. Apart of that, I will be finishing the floor sheeting, and then I will start putting membrane on the foundation to protect the foundation from water, from moisture and everything. So we will see. It's almost, the sun is almost rising, but it's still gray. Let's do it.
When the excavator arrives, there's really no time for filming. Everything moves quickly and you have to stay focused. Just before winter hit, I wanted to make sure all the utility pipes were in the ground. I'm planning to build both a garage and a small garden office, so this was the perfect moment to prepare for them. The excavator helped level the ground for both structures. There will be a concrete slab under the garage, while the garden office will sit on pillars. At this stage, I laid down the necessary pipes for water and sewage, so that's already taken care of. And this is how it all turned out. I also took the opportunity to gather some other essential supplies, foundation insulation and drainage pipes among them. It's all part of preparing for the next stages, and with winter just around the corner, I didn't want to be caught off guard. The foundation walls have finally dried, which means it's time to apply the essential waterproofing membrane for my crawl space. But before I can start, there's one small issue. Thanks to the wind, there's a thin layer of dust on some parts of the surface. And that's a problem because if the wall isn't clean, the membrane simply won't stick properly. So first, a bit of extra cleaning to make sure everything bonds the way it should. For waterproofing, I decided to go with NEXLER Bitflex 1KP. It's a ready-to-use, thick-layer waterproofing compound based on bitumen, modified with polymers and polystyrene fillers. What I really like about it is that it's made specifically for vertical waterproofing and damp-proofing of foundations and basement walls, exactly what I need here. This product is highly elastic, so it can handle some minor movements and bridge small cracks without an issue. It's also resistant to water pressure and the various ground chemicals that could potentially damage a weaker layer. You can apply it with a trowel or even with spray equipment, in layers up to 5 mm thick. I appreciate the fact that it's also environmentally safe. Considering how many different waterproofing products I've already looked into, this one really ticks the boxes for what I need at this stage. In my situation, it's probably a little bit overkill, but I wanted to be on the safe side. After everything I've done so far, I'd rather spend a bit more time and money now than risk dealing with moisture problems later on. When you're building something on your own, every small decision like this can make a big difference down the line. I also decided to apply an extra thin layer using a brush, just to be sure that all the small gaps were properly sealed. This wasn't something recommended by the manufacturer, it was entirely my own decision. But honestly, I'm really happy with how it turned out. After this step, the entire surface of the foundation walls looked smooth and uniform. And when you're working alone, those little finishing touches can really make you feel like you're on the right track. Then the weather took a turn for the worse. After applying the first layer of the waterproofing membrane, I had to wait almost 10 days for the right conditions to continue. The Bitflex 1kp can only be applied when the temperature is above 5 degrees Celsius and there's no rain, since it needs at least 8 hours to cure properly. So, I kept checking the forecast and waited patiently. When the opportunity finally came, I was ready. According to the forecast, I had the last 3 decent days of autumn ahead. I took the weekend and 1 extra day off from work to tackle the task while the weather still allowed it. It's been a while since I last used a square-notched trowel, so I needed a moment to get the hang of it again and find my rhythm. Luckily, the forecast was on my side. 3 days of cloudy skies, around 8 degrees Celsius, and no rain in sight. That gave me just enough time to get the job done. I knew I had to make the most of it and finish everything before the weather turned again. The next morning, I knew things had taken a turn. I woke up to a light drizzle, and deep down, I had a bad feeling about it. When I got to the building site, my fears were confirmed. The moisture barrier was wet. At that moment, I had no idea what that really meant. Ironically, it was my birthday, and let's just say, not the kind of present I was hoping for from the universe. I quickly improvised a makeshift foil roof and did my best to remove the excess water. In the end, once everything had dried out, it turned out okay. The moisture barrier eventually cured, but it definitely needed more time than planned. I knew I was going to get really dirty. After all, the waterproof membrane is incredibly sticky, but I figured I'd be careful. Well, turns out, that's easier said than done. I ended up ruining my favorite pair of trousers. Or maybe I just gave them a whole new look. Kind of a camouflage style, if you will.
It's Sunday, 8 a.m. Yesterday I ran out of propane, so I need to pick up new bottle of gas. This is it. And I'm on the gas station, so I pick up a coffee as well. I really like coffee. I can drink like 1 liter per day, no matter which kind of coffee, black, white, flat latte, cappuccino, whatever. I really enjoy coffee. So if you want to buy me a coffee, there is a link below. Feel free. And today, now, let's get back to work.
It's not freezing yet, but it's definitely cold. Luckily, in my metal shed, I've got a propane stove and a heater, which are real game changers. It's so much warmer inside now. And let's not forget, nothing cheers me up more than a nice cup of coffee or tea. It's those little things that make a huge difference on days like these. In a few places, the waterproofing membrane ended up flowing down the walls, but there wasn't much I could do about it at that point. After a few days of drying, it turned out to be okay. Of course, I'd have preferred it not to happen that way, but in the end, it will still do the job just fine. Due to the rain, I had to wait for the first layer of waterproofing to dry and cure before applying another one. Not wanting to waste any time, I decided to add the missing water line for my future garage. I had already prepared a channel to pull the pipe under the footings, but things didn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped. The pipes I had prepared months ago were at the wrong angle, and moving them into position turned out to be a real struggle. It was cold, so the pipe wasn't flexible at all. I even tried using a heat gun to make it work, but I spent a lot of time without getting any results. The pipe I bought at a big box store turned out to be of low quality, and after struggling with it for so long, I ended up destroying it. In the end, I wasted about 3 hours on unnecessary work. The next day, I wrapped up the last bits of work, and thankfully, there wasn't much left to do. This is how everything turned out. The waterproofing cured and dried perfectly, and the on-site engineer approved the work. He even mentioned that the quality was much higher than what you'd typically see on commercial building sites, as many professionals don't take the time to focus on the details like I did. And that's it for this stage of the project. It took much longer than I expected, and there were plenty of challenges along the way. Weather, delays, mistakes, and even a destroyed pair of trousers. But in the end, I'm really happy with how the waterproofing turned out. It's solid, it's detailed, and it gives me peace of mind moving forward. Thanks for sticking with me through this long process. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'll be back soon with more updates as I keep building this house step by step. Take care and see you in the next one.